that if something isn't noticed, you'll be looking from it. Yeah, that's the logic of it. That's what, over the years, that's what it's boiled down to, or melted down to, which is how I see most spirituality now, or cryptic sayings, or it's more like warnings. They're attempting to warn you of something. Sort of like if this was like a spiritual pack of cigarettes, you know, those warnings on the side say this could be dangerous to your health. Well, missing this can be dangerous to your spiritual health, in my belief. Yeah, and that is a false. There's a false reference that wants to find the truth. Yeah, there's a presupposing a non-existent thing, which is a body, basically, without animation. Have you ever seen someone you knew dead now? I've seen it happen. And I remember when I was 9 years old, my Uncle Fred passed away, and I liked him. He used to give me money at the relatives' parties. And they brought me to the casket. I looked in, and I had a very strong hit. That is an Uncle Fred. Yeah? So I saw the body without the animation. And it was obvious without the animation that wasn't Uncle Fred. And in hindsight, years later, I realized why I thought the animation was the body was because I thought the animation here was the body. When I saw the body without the animation, it was clear that wasn't Uncle Fred. And it's clear that this isn't me. Yeah? Yeah. So the warning of this message is quite simple. There's a mental process that's incredibly fast in time, and there's no other process in time that's going to outdraw this process, which is the brain producing a sense of self, yeah, a feeling through claiming a lot of activities. So one of the first things the mental state claims is the consciousness, you know, that animation. It says, I'm the one who's animated, yes? So something that comes after implies it's before, that which is before. So if you look all of these lives right now, all these representations of life right now, have the same basis, yeah? The seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, yeah? That's the baseline of the whole event here, the seeing, feeling, hearing, tasting, and touching. Now, seeing isn't something like that comes out like a thing. There's not an arm of seeing, yes? Hearing there isn't an arm of hearing, like the ear isn't hearing. The ear facilitates hearing. The eye isn't seeing, the eye facilitates seeing. You could take let's say if someone died and their face hadn't been damaged, you could, maybe they can do it now, but they will be able to do it. They could take the eye out of that body, which is never seeing another freaking thing from that body, and put it in a live body, and it would facilitate seeing, yes? Because the lens, the camera, the aspect of it is workable. It just doesn't have any animation, yeah? The consciousness isn't there, so therefore there's no seeing out of that very, very healthy eye, or there's no hearing out of this incredible ear. Yeah? So it's not the ear, it's not the eye, it's not the tongue that's tasting. There's something that's tasting through the tongue. Yeah? There's something that's feeling through the nervous system. There's something that's seeing seemingly through the eyes. It's nothing, and there's nothing that's hearing. But that which is seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, and touching can't be seen, heard, felt, tasted, touched. Yeah? That which is seeing right now can't be turned on what's seeing. It's like the dilemma of science where they want to study everything, but they can't study what's studying. Yeah? They can't get behind what's studying through them. Yeah? Because it would be them again studying. It would be the studies. They cannot get there and go, oh, Paul is now going to observe the studying. Because Paul comes after the studying, not before the studying. Yeah? So this mental process, I like to call it selfing, because I believe humbly everything is a verb here. There's no nouns. Everything is just verbing. Everything is happening, but nothing ever comes to pass, actually. Everything's happening. We are the only reality there is, lending reality to things by being identified as a thing, basically. I would say that's what's happening during the day. So, where was I?
There is no self.
Oh, there is no self. So, no, the selfing. So the selfing is basically represents the act of being identified as a self. See, this is another direction. See, it doesn't make any sense to study what you are. Yeah? It makes a lot of sense to study what you're not when you're identified as it. Yeah? To study what you are from what you're not is not going to go anywhere. Just like at these talks, I gave up a long, long time ago talking to you about mind, big mind, or talking to you about Buddha, or talking to you about spirit, because it doesn't go anywhere. Yeah? But to talk to the Buddha about you goes far. Yeah? That's the direction. To talk to bigger mind about you goes far. Yeah? To talk to you about bigger mind goes freaking nowhere. Because obviously, how many fucking people are going to satsangs tonight in Berkeley and everywhere else? They've been to 30 freaking retreats, 800 of these things, and basically they're spiritually civilized, so they're not flipping out, but they sure want to flip out because they've had enough, but they want to be there to get it. They want to have an experience of their own absence, and it's driving them freaking crazy when they believe someone else has. Someone else is farther along than they are. I was just at a big convention, the sand convention. Woo! Jesus. A lot of science and non-duality. You see, the thing is, because at these meetings, I shared it there, at these meetings, like in recovery, at least someone will stop you occasionally. Here, no one's going to go, okay, you've had enough satsang, let's go. Do not sign up for that next retreat. There's nothing, it will go on and on and on and on and on. At least in recovery, we have interventions. The police will intervene, or somebody will intervene to fucking put you somewhere so you stop using drugs, at least for a little while. But here, it goes on and on and on and on and on. So, the act of being identified as a self, it sounds like there's a verb and a noun, but it's all verb. Yeah? It's not like the act of being identified as something that's there called self. It's the act of being identified as a self. There is no self, but the mental state is in the act of being identified as a self. So when your interest and attention and it's not yours, but the interest and attention that makes us up, it's habitually going into the mental state, because when you were a kid, you were experiencing a lot more things. You put everything in your mouth, yeah? You would be touching and hugging your mother and father and everything. Most now, a lot of the senses are very, very undernourished, and we're all up here, like those dogs with those cones. We're just like all up in the head, going over what we thought we felt and seen and tasted and touched. Yeah, but we're so far from the pulse of living. We're getting like 50-day-old news. Yeah. So the selfing is the act of being like a verb, a present tense verb, the act of being identified as a self. So when the mental state, when you're jacked into there, or the habit is you're in there, you will always catch it in the act of being identified as a self. It never culminates into becoming a self, because it can't. So the copulation is always foreplay. It never fucking spawns anything. Yeah? So it's the act of being identified as a self. So you go to the memories. What are the memories? They're in the act of being identified as a self. You're pictured as a body when you're thought about in time. Simple as that. Your memories comprising pictures of you as a body somewhere else at some other time. That's basically what it is. You go, all right, you go into perceptions. These eyes see things. Yeah? We're not seeing nothing. We're seeing things. Yeah, all right, and then the thought system pictures you as a body. When you're thought about as a body, as historical action figures somewhere else in time, be it in the past or the future, and the thoughts are about you as a body. So all of those processes are in the act of being identified as a self. So let's say they're like a glove, yeah? And then here you and I are like a hand, independent of the glove. But the hand puts itself into the glove, and as it does, it forgets it's the hand, yeah? Now that which is animating, it calls itself that, yeah? And now, it can become such a drag, being this glove, it will want to get out of the glove, which makes total sense. But it gets stymied because it's going to try to get out of the glove as the glove. Yeah? Because it's in the act, it's not identified as the glove, it's in the act of being identified as the glove. Yeah. So now its yearning for freedom from the glove gets misdirected, and now you want to be free as the glove. Yeah? So it takes the energy that's correct, but misdirects it. So it twists it. So you now get lost trying to get out of the glove as a glove. And then unfortunately you run into a lot of other gloves that are trying to get out of the glove as the glove, and you join little fucking groups. And then there's historical paths that say this is how the gloves got more like being out of the glove than any other glove ever has before. Yes? And let's say, so that one's farther than this one because that guy was really out of the glove. This guy was somewhat out of the glove. But I want to be like them. I want to be a glove that's out of the glove. And it's a very stubborn urge. I want to be there to get it. Yeah. I want to have my own absence as an experience. I want to be present at my annihilation. And of course, the remnants of relevance is so thick that you will think that something has to be destroyed for the reality to dawn on you. A non-existent thing does not need to be destroyed. It never existed. And you don't go back to see if it's not existing, because you got that it never existed. You don't have to go back and kill it. It's not going to rise like a zombie and then have to kill it again. It didn't happen. What you believe to be so has never been so. It wasn't like it was truly so, and then I worked really hard to make it unso, but I had to live in the fear that it could be back so, like any second I stopped meditating or stopped doing this. That's fucking slavery. That's not freedom. So this is just seeing what you're not, or having an understanding of what you're not by what you're not, but by what you are. Because when what you are starts entertaining, hey, I may not be that, it's really that's that, in a sense. It may seem to take time, but it's just time. Yeah, and time is timelessness being teased, basically. Yeah, if it has a very, very large rush into you, and you seem to have gotten it, part of that download is going to be, it's always been this way. So it negates any reality that was ever before, or whatever was now, or is going to be. It negates it completely. And to erase what's